What is going on to all my movie fans out there, and welcome back to my channel, MovieFiles. Today we're talking about the follow-up to a surprise hit on Netflix a couple years ago, and we're talking about the sequel of Extraction 2, y'all. I got the chance to check it out just a couple days before it drops on Netflix on June 16th, and I'm gonna let y'all know by the end of this video if Extraction 2 is worth checking out. But first, I want to talk to y'all in the comment section. Let me know if you were a fan of the original and if you were excited for the sequel, and once y'all have seen Extraction 2, what'd y'all think about it? Let me know your favorite character, your favorite moment, your favorite action set piece in this movie. What were some things that didn't work for you all in this film? And if you have seen and you have enjoyed Extraction 1, Extraction 2, the question I have for y'all in the comments is, do you want an Extraction 3? Let's talk about that in the comment section. So yes, I was a fan of 2020's Extraction. I thought that first-time director Sam Hargrave did a phenomenal job with the action. I'm a fan of Chris Hemsworth. I think he's great as Thor. But outside the MCU, I'm not always the biggest fan of the movies he's in, but I like him as an actor, and I thought he was awesome in the first Extraction. So Elliot, are you excited for the sequel? I think the short answer to that is yes, and here we are talking about it. Let's start off by talking about Sam Hargrave, who, like I had mentioned, made his directorial debut in the original, stuntman turned director, and I thought he did a really great job in that first one. I think he did an even better job in the sequel. The reason I say that is because not only is this film bigger in scope and scale, there is a lot going on in this movie, and I thought Sam did a good job of honing in and controlling the chaos that's going on, especially, man, when we get to the action, which I will get to, he did a great job. But something I noticed about, especially when it comes to a director who is coming off their first debut, are they perfecting their craft? And I think that Sam did a better job in this one compared to the original of handling the slower moments, handling the more personal, sentimental, one-on-one character, quieter scenes in this sequel, because this is a much more personal story this time around. And I thought Sam did a good job of allowing the audience to breathe in these more quieter, slower, more intimate one-on-one scenes, and I really appreciate that. You can see the growth as a director from Sam, and I'm really excited to see him potentially do more of these Extraction films, but I'm also excited to see Sam continue to grow as a director, because I think he is becoming a really solid director. So pivoting over to a little bit of the story without giving too much away, but something that I appreciate about this second one, more so than the first one, this story is more personal, and in particular, there is a focus on the family element in this film, and there's a lot of parallels going on, especially with Tyler and the main villain, and this idea of like broken promises and this idea of like broken families, and there's a lot going on within those central themes, and I thought the story did a good job of making those themes, making it more personal, making the stakes feel more present in the film, which I enjoyed. But I want to talk about Chris Hemsworth, who, like I said a couple minutes ago, I'm a fan of him as an actor. I think he could do comedy. I definitely think he could do action. I think he's just a great actor, and I thought that something that I really enjoyed about Chris in this film is moments of his family history in the first one, and expanding on that in the sequel. We understand a little bit more of the perspective of why he's haunted by the decision he made in the first one involving his family, getting more of that and fleshing out the character more in this story, because you can understand his motives in this particular story, focusing on the family that he's extracting, and I really like what they did with Tyler. But I also want to talk about Tyler, and in particularly Chris Hemsworth. I'm not saying he's at the table, but he's knocking on that door as far as just being a bona fide action superstar. I mean, of course, the Thor stuff, but this character, Tyler Rake, again, I'm not saying he's at the table with the Keanu Reeves, with John Wick and Rambo and Jason Bourne, but my man's knocking on the door, man. Tyler Rake is that dude. He has finesse when he needs to be, but he's also a brute. He's also brutal. He'll also punch your head in. And I mean, the action with Tyler, and of course, if you saw the first one, my man was beaten up. He was taken down for a bit. And if you've seen the trailer for this new one, you know he's kind of rebuilding himself, and he is definitely a monster. He's a beast in this sequel, man. So shout out to Chris Hemsworth. But also, I want to talk about I would say, a co-lead of this movie, and she's a part of Tyler Rake's team. I'm talking about Golshifteh Farahani. I am probably butchering that. I apologize, but she plays Nikki. Now, if you saw the first one, she was in the original, and she has a lot more to do in this film, but she is awesome in this movie. She gets a little bit more character moments, but also she gets a lot more action in this film, and she definitely delivers in that department. So I definitely enjoyed her. But now, listen, man, when I watch Extraction, I'm not here to have my life change from this super integral story. I'm here for the action, and I want to talk about the action with you all because this action is incredible, y'all. Now, I think for me, my favorite action movie of 2023 so far is John Wick Chapter 4, and all I'm saying is Extraction is telling John Wick, for some moments in this movie, hold my beer, John Wick. I'm telling y'all, in particular, I'm not going to give too much away, but it's been hyped up, and I want to talk about it. The hype is true. There is a 21-minute jailbreak sequence with Tyler Extraction, taking a family out of prison. Let me tell y'all something, man. This scene is incredible because it is multi-layered, right? There is hand-to-hand combat. There's fires being thrown at Tyler. There's bombs. There's chaos all around his prison. People getting shanked left and right. It's up there with The Raid as far as that jail breakout. That if you guys have seen The Raid, if you haven't, do yourself a favor. It's fantastic. It's not as good as The Raid. Don't get that twisted. I'm saying the jail scene in The Raid and the jail scene in this one, pretty comparable. But not only is it great hand-to-hand combat, but then we also take it to a car chase involving motorcycles and explosions, and then it doesn't end there. And I don't want to give the whole sequence away, but then we have a moment on a train, and there's things going on and explosions, and it's just pretty incredible. So yes, the hype is real. That 21, one take, you can see the cuts at some point, but it is fantastic. It definitely lives up to the hype. But I will say there are some other action moments in this film that I appreciate, and I'll just say the weight room. And when you see the film, you know what I'm talking about. There's a moment where something happens with some weights, and it was pretty spectacular. So I thought the action definitely stepped up from the first one in a very major way. But with that action, I want to take a moment to really appreciate the stunt men and the stunt women that work on these movies. I am a huge advocate to have the Academy acknowledge these people that do such a great job of bringing us incredible action. Yes, you have to have great actors. You have to have a great director who luckily has had his hand in doing some stunt work, but also just putting a spotlight on the people that do these scenes. I think it gets underappreciated because we don't always appreciate the artistry that goes into doing these stunts. And when it comes to the stunts in this film, and particularly when we're cutting between the visual effects and the practical effects, and there's an explosion and it's just seamless when people are moving around, there's a lot going on with the action, and it is masterful. Again, John Wick has set the tone for the last 10 years as far as action movies, and I think that the Extraction, again, not on the level of John Wick, but is knocking on that damn door. So shout out to the stunt men and women that just bring some incredible action in this film. Oscars, can we get an Academy category for the incredible work, especially when it's highlighted so beautiful in movies like this? But listen, this film is imperfect. I do have my criticisms, and I want to start off by talking about there's some nitpicks. Number one, villains in these movies are pretty stereotypical. They're pretty generic. And the villain, I will give the film this. It tries to give the villain a little bit more backstory. I talked about the personal story with the family element, and there is motives for what the character is doing. And also, I want to take it back a little bit for a positive, and then we'll get back to my cons. I appreciate how simple the stories are because it's not like Tyler Rake has to stop this biological weapon, this warhead that's going to kill everyone in the world. No, it's a very personal story, which I appreciate. But going back to my criticisms, the villain has a story beat, and it made sense at the beginning. Like, okay, you know what he's doing in this film, but after a while, it started to get a little bit generic. It started to feel a little bit repetitive, and I started to not care about their motives in the film. So the villain was just, it was okay. I will say that. But I will say, to the note of the villain, because it ties into one of my biggest criticisms, kids in action movies can go one of two ways. It can go really good, they can fit well into the narrative, or it can go really bad. Like, I thought the kid in the first one was pretty solid and it fit within the narrative, and they weren't too annoying. There are two kids in this movie, because it's a family that we're extraction from this situation. One of the kids is a little girl. She's fine. But then there's like a 13, 14-year-old kid that is pretty annoying. And at first, it made sense to why the kid was acting the way they're doing. You're like, okay, I understand. I understand the conflict there that's going on with the kid in the film. But then after a while, I'm saying to myself, strike one, strike two, you're out of here with strike three, young man. And this kid, in a span of like 20 minutes, if I was Tyler, I'm like, dude, deuces. I tried my best. This kid does not want to be saved. I'm wiping my hands clean. And again, when you see the film, you know what I'm talking about. But that kid was very annoying. And it came a little bit, at some point, you just got to be like, this kid is gone. He's too far gone. But again, that was something that bothered me. But getting to one of the biggest issues that I have with this movie is Joe Russo. I'm a big fan of the Russo brothers, and Joe Russo wrote this movie, and he also wrote, I think he co-wrote the first one. And I love the Russo brothers. Again, the MCU stuff, fantastic. And I never really gave them all the credit for what they did with Winter Soldier, Civil War, Infinity War, Endgame. It's a collective effort. But everything outside of the MCU for the Russo brothers, for me, has been pretty bad. Now, I like Gray Man, even though that story was a little bland, but I like the Gray Man. But everything else is very bland. In this movie, the screenplay by Joe Russo is extremely generic. It is extremely predictable, and it is just, quite frankly, a very flat surface movie. Like, again, I'm not looking for Shakespeare. I'm not looking for world-ending events, but I just want some more originality. I want some more uniqueness. I want some personality in the script, and I think that is easily the weakest element of this film is Joe Russo's script for this movie. And this was in the trailer. This isn't a spoiler. First name is Idris, and I feel like they were wasted. Now, there is opportunity for more of the character to do things if they get a sequel, but I'm like, you got this great actor. Give them more to do. And then last thing I'll say is, I mentioned how awesome that prison break scene is, and it is incredible. It is very early in the movie, and every action scene after that, there is an action scene, I mentioned the weight room, that is fantastic, and there are great moments throughout the film that has action, but it never lived up to that first prison break scene, which to me, you want to do the reverse. You want to build, like I mentioned John Wick. John Wick does a good job of building on the action. Like the next set piece is bigger and more elaborate and more unique and just more awesome. Not saying that the film increases the entertainment factor, but it's not as big, bombastic, insane, and crazy as that prison break. As we go on the film, it's like, did y'all run out of money? Did you run out of ideas? So again, the action throughout is still entertaining. It just doesn't live up to that first action set piece, which again, for my personal taste, it should be the opposite. You should get better as the film goes on. So those are my main pros. Those are my main cons. Before I wrap this video up, if you all have enjoyed the commentary so far, do your boy a favor, consider hitting the like button, sharing today's review, and of course, consider subscribing to the channel. With all that being said, overall, to me, Extraction 2 has to be knocking on the door with John Wick Chapter 4 as some of the best action we've seen all year. The sequel definitely doubles down on what worked in the first one, while giving us a larger scope with some incredibly brutal action. The prison breakout sequence, I can't stress enough, is absolutely jaw-dropping. I love the collaboration that we're getting with Chris Hemsworth and the director Sam Hargrave. They have proven to be a great duo. It's a shame that this film isn't only presented in a theatrical experience, because I think it deserves that big screen experience. As I mentioned, I think the biggest issue with this film is the actual script, but at the end of the day, I came for Extraction to see some great action, and I got that, and I'm going to give Extraction 2 a 3 out of 5. Now, personally, I think I enjoy the first one a little bit more. I think I gave it like a 3.5 out of 5, and I'm giving this a 3 out of 5. So it's still a good movie, man. Again, the action's great. It's just that story. I wish there was a little bit more going on there. So with all that being said, to answer my question at the beginning, would I like to see a part 3? Hell yes. The narrative and action being on the same page to equal out, I'm here for it. But that's my thought on Extraction 2. Give it a watch on Netflix. Again, I would have loved to have seen this on a big screen. And with it being at home, it's going to be available on Netflix, and I recommend you all give it a watch. And when you do, let me know your thoughts on the film in the comments below. Would you love? Would you hate? What was your favorite moment? What were some things that didn't work for you all? And do you want to see an Extraction 3? Let's talk about that in the comment section. Thank you all for watching today's video. Before we wrap it all up, do your boy a favor. Hit the like button. Share today's video. Consider subscribing to the channel and hitting that notification bell. That way you don't miss out on all the content we deliver here on this channel. Hope you all had fun. Hope you're staying safe. As you can see on the screen now, consider hitting subscribe. Check out all my reviews I've done so far this year. Check out my most recent review, and I'll catch you all on the next video.